Welcome, you guys. It's Med Spa Mondays. Yeah! I like when I do that. I think I did it on the last video. Anyway, so listen, you guys. Today I'm going to cover or talk about a topic that someone mentioned in one of the videos, a question that was asked, and I felt it was a really good question, and a lot of people probably have the same question. And we're going to talk about costs. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about what does it really look like as far as financially when it comes to starting an aesthetic practice. So first of all, for those who don't know me, my name is Dr. Kiiyonna Jones. I'm owner and founder of Luxe Beauty and Wellness Boutique and Luxe Beauty and Wellness Academy, and I help nurses, nurse practitioners, and other healthcare professionals get to the bag. I am a firm believer that we should leverage the licenses that we have worked so hard for to generate unlimited amount of revenue so that we can live the lives we deserve. After COVID, I found a newfound respect for us as nurses because we really truly work our butts off and are really giving way more than they could ever financially compensate us for when we are working with our patients. And so because of that, I have made it my mission to help those who are in healthcare leverage their licenses to make money to where there is no cap on the amount of money you can earn. So today we're going to really talk about cost because someone asked in the comment, really, how much does it cost? And I can tell you and I've talked about this part before, looking on Google, it says $250,000 to $1 million for startup costs. Of course, that's nowhere near what I paid, but I do want to make sure people understand it can go upwards of $1 million depending on what you are starting. So what that looks like is, are you starting a small practice where you are doing maybe working in a small suite? Are you doing concierge, or are you looking to open up a large, 3,500 square foot location where you have physicians and you have nurse practitioners and nurses and medical assistants and LVNs working there? Well, then yeah, it could be upwards of $1 million, especially if you are in areas where the expense as far as your location, the lease, the clientele you are seeking is on the higher end. So what that looks like is in California, if you were opening up your location in Beverly Hills or Santa Monica or in Newport Beach, there is a lot of potential there because you have the average cost of a home there is well over $2 million, and the annual revenue is really high. So you could market to those people and bring in good revenue, but you do have to take into account as a startup and an inexperienced business owner, it probably wouldn't be the best move outright, I should say. So I focus in my Med Spa Bootcamp on those who want to start small and scale. Okay. And so the biggest expense that you'll have really is your attorney fee, which I strongly recommend getting an attorney. Is there a way to get around not having an attorney? Absolutely. But do I know that you would, especially as an inexperienced business owner, you would potentially be putting your license, the license of your medical director at risk? Yes. So I do not recommend that. I strongly recommend you getting a healthcare law attorney. So the healthcare law attorney would be a large expense as a startup. And that will range between $3,500 to $5,500 is pretty reasonable. What I like about getting a healthcare law attorney is that they will focus on setting your corporation up based on your state laws as far as medical practices are concerned. And usually, which they should, if they don't, you shouldn't go with them. Usually they will make sure to provide all the necessary agreements you need, like the agreement between yourself and your medical director, the agreements that you will need as far as your medical agreement, the collaborative agreement, which is talking about what their role is in the business and what your role is in the business. So I love that because it's kind of a bundle. So you don't have to worry about, what do I need? What kind of document should I have the doctor sign? A healthcare law attorney will provide all of that in addition to setting up your corporation. So that's about $3,500 to $5,500, depending on what state you're in. Then the next big expense is definitely going to be your location. A lot of people want to go out. It's fun, you have your suite and you want to make it, really nice for your ideal market. The only thing about that is especially if you go to like a Sola salon or a Phoenix salon or any of these like suites locations, they tend to be on the more pricier side. It doesn't matter where you are, meaning if you're in a state where the cost of living is a little less, it'll still be on the higher side relative to your state and what the cost of living is in your state or your area. So it's going to be more. Generally speaking, if you're on the higher end, like in California, let's say Northern California or Southern California, you're probably going to end up paying about $2,500 to $3,500 a month for a lease. Now, I do not recommend, sorry you guys, I'm recording this in my office at home, so that's the ice cream truck. I do not recommend you going that route as a new startup. I just feel like your resources are better spent on your training and mentorship versus your location starting out. I can almost guarantee you're going to go move to another location probably after the first year. I think you should start out in a medical office building, which is a lot less pricey. You can get a space for a fraction of the cost that you'd be spending on an aesthetic space, but I must preface it with some special considerations. For example, if you go to an aesthetic suite and you are renting from an aesthetic suite, just think about there are also other renters there who are in the same general industry. So hairstylists, massage therapists, estheticians, nail techs, you're all in the same space, which means that you can all support each other. So they may have clients that are interested in aesthetics, and you could develop collaborations with them. You guys can throw promotions, things like that. That's the good part. If you go through a medical office building, you're pretty much on your own. So you want to be mindful of that. A lot of people sleep on and when I say sleep, I mean, that's a slang, but I'm just saying like they miss or they ignore or they don't realize that location is important. And you want to pay attention if you got foot traffic. You want to pay attention to who the market is where your location is located. I'll give you an example. When I had my location number 1, which is my first location, I looked at the cost of living in the surrounding areas, but this is 5 to 6 years ago, by the way. As a new business owner who knew nothing, I thought, oh, well, their average cost of living is $150K, so this is really good. But the demographics, they weren't interested. And at this time I was doing permanent makeup. They weren't interested in permanent makeup, one part. And the next thing is they were not interested in receiving treatment from someone who was African American, because most of them were Middle Eastern. And so traditionally they really didn't indulge, and not to mention anatomically and feature wise, they had very thick bushy eyebrows, so they weren't even interested because they had plenty of brows. So that I didn't think that one through, right? And I didn't know to think it through. But now in my location where I am in now, I've relocated. I'm in a strip mall. I get a lot of foot traffic. There's a large population of people who are interested in love, beauty, and aesthetics. So they are patronizing. And also I'm the only one who does it. So I get the business owners coming to me as well as their clients. There's a nail shop in my strip mall. So those are things that I didn't know to think about. So I would definitely think about that when it comes to the lease. So sometimes you may look at, oh, it's less expensive, but it could cost you in the long run if you're not able to get the foot traffic and if no one knows you exist, or if it's hard to find you, right? Which also another way you could help with that is optimizing your Google My Business page. So you'll have to pay for your attorney, you'll have to pay for your location. Like I said, in Southern California, I told you the price, but it definitely is cheaper in other locations, but it's still going to be more relative to the cost of living. That's why I suggest using going through like a medical office and going on places like loop.net and finding a place like that. It would be way less expensive. The next biggest cost that you'll have aside of training is going to cost, of course, and those range to, I would say, like $1,000 to $2,500, depending on how much they bundle it. Be careful with the bundling, because one thing about it is you're learning a new skill. You're not going to be able to really master a lot of different skills, even though they're teaching it to you all at the same time. It takes practice. So I would suggest having just an intro, dermal fillers and neurotoxins, and rolling with that for at least 6 months, and then adding on a new treatment if you decide to do that, or getting advanced treatment for neurotoxins and dermal fillers. That's when they'll cover more off-label. But don't do one that gives you all the different treatments. You're thinking you're getting a deal, but you're setting yourself up, because you really are not going to be able to master those skills. So you'll pay for that, and then the attorney, and then just your medical director. Now, depends on what you decide for a medical director. In the boot camp, I really go over strategies on where you can obtain your own medical director. The thing about that is, when you obtain your own medical director, you can usually negotiate their monthly fee. The problem with that is, a lot of times they'll be inexperienced, and if they're inexperienced, that means you have to do a lot more work. Versus if you go through any of these companies that will partner with you to provide the medical services, you'll find that they are a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot bit more, but they are experienced in being medical directors and collaborating physicians, and they also come with a wealth of knowledge that can add value to your business and ultimately your bottom line. So all that to say, generally speaking, when it comes to the cost, and then you looking at, decor, all that, you'll probably be somewhere between 10 and 15K. It's my goal for everyone who is in my boot camp to get funding or business credit that they can leverage to use to finance that. I do not believe in using your own money. I believe in using other people's money to set up your business, because why should you use your own? That's not what the rich people do. But you do have to make sure that you have your personal credit good, so that you can leverage that to get business credit. But I am a firm believer of using other people's money. So we have a masterclass that I have an expert come in and teach you the strategies on how to obtain your business credit, which is extremely, extremely important. So anyway, you guys, it's about 10 to 15K, very reasonable. And you can even get it on the lower side if you find someone who already has a location. Let's say you may want to rent a room from an esthetician who may are a larger aesthetic practice, meaning with an E, like that has esthetician or massage therapist. You can rent a room from them and actually have your business out of there. That is very much so something that is possible, as long as you're meeting your state laws and regulations, and as it pertains to a medical practice. So that's it for this Mess by Monday. I hope I've added some value to you guys. Again, if you have questions, put them in the comments below. Also, make sure that you are sharing this page with your fellow nurse practitioner or healthcare professionals who are interested in starting aesthetic practice. Until next time, see you soon.